when I was younger, and now that I'm about to explain this story, it's reminding me of how, even back then when I was a little kid, I had OCPD, and I would have to go with my mother to a friend's house, like all the time, every so often, because I was a little kid, I couldn't stay in the house now, obviously. And I remember that, like there wasn't much for me to do when my mother was like talking to her friends or her friend. And I remember like every 20 minutes I'd be like, Mom, when are we going home? When are we going home? And every time I wanted to like tell my mom, oh, when are we going home? When are we going home? Every time I kind of had to interrupt them, innit? And I had to like, Mom. And then my mother would be like, Damien, can't you see I'm in the middle of talking to my friend? So I understand what it's like to, listen to people talk, and then they're really good at communicating. They have perfect social skills. And two people are blabbing, and they're both just kind of like going on for like 5 minutes per sentence. And like you're trying to find, where do you like interject? Where do you actually like interrupt? Because as soon as one of them stops speaking, the other one starts speaking. You're just like, I thought Mum was about to finish her sentence. I could interrupt her and ask her when are we going home. And it was just like every time my mother would be like, Damien, I'm talking to my friends. So, I understand perfectly what it's like to have, like, I understand a lot about, communication problems and what it's like. And that's why people interrupt, um, is because, people that are good communicators and have good social skills and don't have mental health issues, they just automatically know when it's their turn to speak. And then when you have a little bit of communication problem, you don't know when it's your turn to speak. So then it ends up happening that you end up interrupting the conversation of two people. So that's why people interrupt each other, and why people interrupt each other, politically all the time, is because everyone is just waiting their turn to add their own little 2 cents in, and you don't know when it's your turn to interrupt, because people with good communication skills go on massive tangents for like 5, 10, 15 minutes without taking a breath, and it's just like it's like near impossible to figure out when it's your time to interject and to start speaking yourself, and when to ask questions and when to say something, when to reply. This is why it happens, politically, because communication is hard. It's very, very hard. But the other reason why a lot of people interrupt, especially like people on the left interrupt people on the right, is because the right wing keeps on spreading misinformation, disinformation, and propaganda. So just like when you listen to someone that's like always lying and saying disinformation, you're always going to want to like to shut them the hell up and to stop saying like misinformation, like, so like they're always interrupting because the right wing keeps spreading misinformation, which is, it's really annoying seeing people spread misinformation all the time, especially when you've got these things happening on like YouTube channels and on the internet in videos and stuff like that. And the left knows that there's highly impressionable, not children, but fully grown adults that a lot of them are vulnerable to like validation of biases and to propaganda and disinformation. So the left wing takes it very seriously when people just keep on regurgitating disinformation, lies, and distractions to provide cover for fascist, authoritarian oppression and stuff.